You were not a lifelong believing, practicing Catholic.
No, I left the church for 20 years.
So you leave the church, and you were, I read, a banker in New York.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like, I don't want to besmirch all bankers, but just knowing friends who have worked in that profession, that can be a very different lifestyle, not always conducive to virtue.
No, particularly on Wall Street, around from Harry's.
Right, my old neighborhood.
Yeah, that's a lifestyle. It's full of drugs and money and power and all the decadencies that go with it. You know, I watched guys cash checks for $150,000 and spend it that weekend. Rent the penthouse of the Plaza, bring in all the ladies and the booze and the drugs, and do it all over on Monday. Like, that's a lifestyle. So with that comes, with his great sin, you're going to have a lot of demons that are just hovering, pushing you to go further. But not everybody's like that. In fact, in the center of that whole community is Little Our Lady of Victory Church.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had a group there that they founded called Wall Street Young Catholics Association. So when I had my conversion, I had to dump a bunch of people in my life that weren't healthy. And I said, I got to find some good people here. So I joined the Young Wall Street. That's where I met Father Jim Labar, the exorcist. So there's good people there. Not everybody's involved in all this stuff. But if you're young, and susceptible to all that, it's all there for the taking.
And you mentioned earlier these young people, like this case of this violinist woman, who say, I would do anything for fame. I would do anything. And all these young and hungry people who are very ambitious, I can't help but notice there's a lot of occult and demonic symbolism, specifically in Hollywood. And we focus on it now because Sam Smith gets up at the Grammys dressed up like the devil and jiggles around about cheating on your wife, and I don't know, Lady Gaga doing weird performances and all sorts of things. But this has been the case in Hollywood forever.
Well, I would go baback further. Jesus said the prince of this world, the ruler of this world is Satan, right?
But it seems especially pronounced in Hollywood. Or am I wrong?
No, you're right. But now he has vehicles to promote that he didn't have back then. So, I mean, think about this. That violinist, that was pre-social media. Now, think about all the people on Instagram that just want to be loved, and they put all this stuff out there. Why? So that you'll like them. It's all about envy. Instagram is just about envy. And
envy, and I suppose gluttony, in that they call it a feed. Like, you're scrolling through your feed just to satiate your appetite for pixels.
Yeah. And in Twitter, that's all about anger. Yeah. And Facebook they just sell you. Yeah. So they're all involved in one of these sort of capital sins, and how that draws people in. Imagine if you're spending your whole day trying to make the world love you, and you're taking your own photo all day and photoshopping it and putting in fancy backgrounds and then posting it saying, look at me, look at me, look at me. I mean, that's narcissist right there. You don't have the pool to fall in, but you're already in. And those people are trapped because that doesn't end after one post. Then they have to do one tomorrow. Yeah. And this is a whole life is all about them.
Yeah, I can't help but notice.
It's so opposite of the gospel.
I have a lot of friends from Hollywood, a lot of friends in show business, and a lot of people I know in that industry and in Hollywood in particular do not turn out very well. You especially think about child actors, almost all of whom go completely off the rails. But maybe most actors that I know have terrible lives. I don't just mean because they don't make any money, like most actors don't make any money. I mean, their personal lives are just get wrecked, and more so than my friends who are in other industries.
Well, again, think about what they do all day. So the focus of their life is on them and being in front of a screen, and then on a big screen where everybody can clap and tell you how great you are. And everybody around you probably, to not get pushed off the team, is telling you what you want to hear. And your life is so focused on you. Think about all the marriages. Like, it's a joke. People say if you last 10 years in Hollywood, that's like you're 75 years in real life. Because and then you spend half your year away from each other filming love scenes with other women. Yeah. How on earth is that going to work? In a beautiful tropical island with alcohol. Yeah. But it'll work.
In essentially summer camp, because film sets it's like summer camp. I mean, it's this whole group of new people. It's a very intense experience. You're there forever. So you can see how that can go off the rails. And speaking of the screens and all the social media and demons, have you heard about the AI demon?
I have.
The story, for those who haven't heard it before, is an AI engineer or artist was experimenting and plugged in and said, give me a picture of Marlon Brando. And a picture of Brando pops up. And this person was trying to explore the breadth of the map that AI is processing.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, show me the opposite of this. And it shows a landscape or something. Say, okay, show me the opposite of that. So you think, okay, maybe that shows you Brando again, right? The opposite of the opposite. But it doesn't. It shows this woman, this withered old hag that this artist calls Loab. And then the artist inputs generated pictures of heaven, angelic choirs and worshiping God, and inputs that, juxtaposes it with the Loab, this demon-looking lady. And what the AI spits out are the most gruesome images: snuff, sexual abuse, violence, all this hideous, almost as if you presented an image of heaven to a demon.
Yeah.
Maybe the craziest part of it is, apparently this Loab demon AI lady persists. That is, she's kind of separated from a lot of the other images in the map. And so AI seems to like her. She keeps popping up. She doesn't get smeared and blurred with all the other images. And I'm reading about this and I'm thinking, is this just some weird, quirky coincidence, or is this a demon?
Well, you can't know for sure, especially being third party, not present for the whole thing, right? I didn't even hear about that one, by the way. I heard about the New York Times reporter who went to test the, whatever it is, GHC, whatever.
ChatGPT.
Yes, and went in and started talking to the thing. And it was very civil for the first 5 minutes. And then that person left and a new person came with a different name. And that person was much more intrusive and started really pushing into her, I don't know if it was a man or woman, but their personal life. It was a man. And then out of the blue says, I love you, to the man. And he's like, okay, that's weird. First of all, you're not real and you're not a person. And then the thing starts telling him he has to leave his wife. She's no good for him. She's going to destroy his life, and dragged him down a rabbit hole of horror, right? And when he got out of it, he couldn't sleep the whole night. So that's a sign that something is irritating him even after he left. So that would have more telltale kind of signs by what happened after he left, and not being able to sleep is one of them. And it really it kind of terrified him. He's like, that was so weird. I would never go back on that thing. There was another one on TikTok of a father who was testing this whole AI thing with a person, AI. And then the son wanted to try it. So the dad's like, sure, it's fake. So and all of a sudden the son goes, well, where did you come from? And he says, well, I existed from long ago. And he goes, what does that mean? He goes, my father was one of the giants. And he goes, what do you mean by giant? He goes, a Nephilim. And he goes, who is your father? And he goes, Satan. And then he goes, but I'm not going to hurt you. And he puts up a happy face. So then the kid's like, Dad, this thing is going down a weird path. And then the father started watching and it went weirder. And then the dad's like, we're off, right? So that's not normal for a programmed computer program to go into, I'm the son of Satan, and I want to be your friend, and I'm not going to hurt you, although I can. He said, I can hurt you, but I'm going to be nice to you.
I do regularly refer to my phone as a portal to hell. So, I guess I'm not terribly surprised.
What phone do you have?
An iPhone.
Yeah. The image on the iPhone is what?
It's an apple with a bite taken out.
Yes. Odd, right?
That is odd.
Yeah. Forbidden fruit?
I was walking through a mall just the other day and I looked at the Apple store and I looked at the logo and I had that thought. I said, wait a second. Does that have
Somebody chose that logo.
Yeah.
It's subtle because you don't think of it right away, but then when you start to see all the evil that can be perpetrated through the phone and the apps and the social media, all of it, we live in the most difficult time to be virtuous. So 100 years ago even, they didn't have to contend with any of this stuff. None of it.
And the the portal to hell on the phone, the main one that people write into my show about all the time, that I suspect has a lot to do with the kind of weird demonic activity we see. It's porn.
Yes, that's the true pandemic.
I assume Catholic priest, you hear plenty of confessions.
do.
Is it 100%, 90, 80% of men are confessing to this sin?
Well, my parish is lower than normal because we've been fighting it. Okay. But normally 95% of men they're coming in weekly with this problem, right? And they say, I don't want to do it, but it happens every week. So right away, again, there's a demon of lust attaching to them and pushing them. So when you get out of the confessional, you have to guard yourself, which means avoid the near occasion of sin too. So when you know you're vulnerable, if after you have a few drinks, you're more apt to open that up, then that's when you say, I'm not going to have the drinks, so I'm not going to go into my bedroom with the phone. Yeah. You have to guard yourself, right? So I was talking with Father Don Calloway probably about a year ago about his book. It was maybe longer than that because it was the year of St. Joseph. And he has the 33-day consecration to St. Joseph. He was telling me that so many men have told him that once they do the consecration, they have no trouble with the lust. If they're really validly doing the consecration with their heart, not just reading the words. So I said, wow, that's great. I go, you know what? I went online, I bought 500 books, put them in the confessional. And when somebody tells me they got that problem, I say, here's your solution. You're going to do this 33-day consecration to Joseph, and he will protect you. He's called the terror of demons. And most men will come back to me and say, it's helping tremendously. Like the push is gone. Now I have to just decide every day for virtue. So there are things out there to help us, but you have to choose it.
People will write to me sometimes and say, Michael, I'm struggling. Often it's that problem or some other problem. Do you have any practical advice? And I know you're Catholic, and I know you're Christian, and I know but do you have any kind of like secular practical advice?
Secular? I mean, honestly, Jesus says if your eye causes you sin, pluck it out. Throw away your computer or throw away your phone. Get a flip phone. If that's your thing and you really want to get over it and you can't stop, then get a flip phone.
Right. But I also...
But on the other plane, we fight defensively. Catholics are not good at offensive fighting. So when we're tempted, that's a struggle, right? It's a struggle. It's literally we're struggling. We don't want to do it, but it's like a cross. It's the same thing you do with the cross you do with this. You say, Lord, let's say it's pornography. I'm struggling here and I hate this. So right away, close your eyes, look at Jesus on the cross, look at his face and say, Lord, I give you this temptation and I ask you to convert this to grace to rescue 100 other men who are about to commit this sin. It takes you out of the temptation, puts you into prayer, puts you into intercession prayer for others, and he'll do it. And as part of the mystical body, we have that power to plug into the cross. And now the devil is irate because not only did he not get you, but now you're stealing from his kingdom. And if you persist in this kind of prayer when you're tempted, he will leave and go after an easier target.
This idea that suffering can be productive, can be sanctifying, our culture seems to have forgotten that idea. But that is a very traditional concept. You kiss it up, offer it up.
Catholic.
It's a very traditional Catholic concept. That's true.
But even among Catholics, it's far and away lost.
But St. Paul writes about this. He says, I rejoice in my sufferings.
Yes, but who's reading this? The Protestants really don't know about redemptive suffering. Most of them will tell me, nope, God doesn't want you to be sick. I said, okay, but the fact that you can at least use it while you are sick. Maybe he'll heal you tomorrow, but in the meantime, you can offer that back to him to help save a soul. What's wrong with that?
I think about sometimes what's called the prosperity gospel. People say God wants you to be rich, basically.
Yeah, it was written in hell. That's not a real gospel.
Yeah.
Jesus is God. His first bed was where the animals ate. Okay? This was not a life of wealth and fortune. They were nomads. They had to go into a pagan country to flee from being murdered. He could have had a life of sitting on a throne. He chose not to. And if God can choose the lowest, he's not asking us to take the highest. In fact, he said it many times. Do not take the highest seat of honor for fear the host will say, get out of there and you'll be embarrassed. Now, if you come into wealth and you didn't go say, I just want to make money for money, but let's say you do a good thing, you're doing a good career, you have a great job, and you're being rewarded well. The best thing you can do is make sure you use at least 10% of your money, tithe 10% back to a good charity or the church, and that's sort of a protection. There's very few kings and queens who became saints. In fact, the only British one is St. Edward. And there won't be any more after him now because things have gone different. But why?
Blessed Carl, I think.
Why did that happen? Because he used all of his power and wealth for the poor. And so it changes everything. But think about it. When you come into a lot of money, is that your first reaction? Let me go help the poor? We don't think like that, because I remember when I had insane bunches of money, the last thing I thought it was, let me help the poor. It was, no, what's the next thing I can get for me, right?
There's a weird thing that happens, because there have been plenty of times in my life where I've made basically no money. I grew up, money was a big problem. We did not have a lot of money at all. And I didn't really think about money. And actually, it was only after I made money. I published a blank book that didn't have any words in it, and it became a #1 bestseller. Talk about unmerited grace.
Really?
It's called Reasons to Vote for Democrats. And it, money just poured down from the sky. And I thought, well, this is truly through no effort of my own, because I didn't write a book. It's totally empty. And it was only after I made some money that I started to think about the money. I thought, well, that's kind of a weird thing. I didn't worry about the money when I didn't have any. And now that I have a bunch of money, I'm worried about it. Isn't that just the way sin works?
Kind of, yeah, because that's your new focus. That's your new God. The love